Hi everyone, today's video is part of the June 2020 Look for Less Challenge, which is hosted by Yami, the Latina Next Door, and this month her co-host is Haley with The Farmer and the Southern Belle. I will have a link to their channels as well as the playlist in the description box down below. The item I chose for my inspiration was this monogrammed rectangular party tub, which Kohl's had on sale for $84.99, regular $129.99. I believe I can make this a lot cheaper. And it turns out that I'm actually going to be making this for my husband for his birthday. And I started off with a food tray that I already had on hand. This is just a regular serving food tray, and then some 3/4 inch cabinet grade plywood that I just pulled out of my scrap pile, so it's a good thing that I save all my scraps. I started off by measuring the top of the food tray down to the bottom to determine how much width I needed. So I just run that strip down the table saw, and it ended up being about 5.5 inches wide. And then I decided I wanted to 45-degree miter saw the sides because I wanted it to have a nice smooth finish. And you don't have to do this. You could simply just cut it straight and then screw in the ends. But I kind of wanted mine to have a polished, smooth look. I didn't want to have the lines. So I cut the two longer pieces are 13 1/4 inch long. And that's actually from the outside edge to the outside edge. And then I'm going to cut the two shorter sides are going to be 11 inches long. And I do set this up like a dry fit to determine the size of the bottom piece that I'm going to put on the tray. And I run that down the table saw, and it's 11 3/4 inches by 9.5 inches. And I'll have all these measurements again down in the description box below if you decide to make one for yourself. So I'm going to use my brad nailer and some Gorilla Glue, and I just place the bottom piece down and each of the sides, so the two shorter sides opposite each other and the two longer sides opposite each other. And I run a bead of glue down the bottom part and then the mitered edge and then the bottom part of the longer piece, so that when I push it up against the bottom of the tray, the glue will set. And then I'm going to take my brad nailer and I'm just going to put in 3 nails on each of the edges, and then I'm going to go around and put three nails at the bottom part to attach the bottom part of the tray to each side. So it's going to be 3 nails on each corner and then 3 nails along the bottom, and I do that all the way around the box. Some of my nails didn't want to go completely down, so I use a nail punch and just pop those down with the hammer just to get them flush with the wood, so it will be a nice smooth finish when I sand. Of course, it's not going to take a whole lot of sanding because this is cabinet grade plywood, so I'm going to be using a 220 grit sandpaper, which is a very fine sandpaper, and then my orbital sander, and I'm just going to go around the entire box, all the sides, the top, the inside, the bottom, and just make sure everything's a good smooth finish from where I cut the wood. Then I'm going to clean all of that dust off, and I'm going to stain it with some Rust-Oleum American Walnut stain that, as you can see, I already had on hand because I've previously used this. The can is all stained up. And I'm going to use a foam brush and a lint-free cloth. You can buy lint-free cloths anywhere at any of your big box stores. I didn't have any, so I just took an old cotton t-shirt and cut it up. And then I'm going to put on my gloves because stain is very sticky and very hard to get off if you get it on your skin. And what I'm going to do is just take the foam brush and put an even coat, and I'm just going to do one side at a time because you don't want it to dry too much. Of course, the longer you leave it on there, the darker it will be. Then I take my lint-free cloth and just wipe it off. Make sure I get all the excess off. I'm going to do that around all the sides, the top, the bottom, and the inside, because I wanted to all have a cohesive look. Then I'm going to let that sit, and it's going to dry completely overnight before I put the polyurethane on. Now you'll notice that I did dry fit my tub, my serving tray in there, and you can see right here where I had to sand a little extra at the top because the tray, it was a snug fit, and I wanted it to be able to go in and out fairly easy without getting stuck. So I did sand the top part of that quite a bit. And then I'm going to use a clear gloss polyurethane because I knew I was going to have some ice in this tray and it was going to get some moisture or water around it. So I wanted to make sure I protected the wood, and I just use a clean foam brush and evenly put that on there, taking my time to make sure there's no bubbles and there's no drips or excess. And you're going to want to do that on all sides. Again, on the inside, the tops, and the bottom. And you're going to want to let that dry for at least 24 hours. Then I'm going to take some black chalkboard craft paint, some foam brushes, an X-Acto knife, a paintbrush, but I do use a smaller paintbrush than what you see here, some painter's tape, a stencil that I already had on hand that came in a big package of stencils that I already have, and some poster stickers. And then I'm just going to basically measure the longer side. I'm going to center that up to figure out exactly where I want my stencil to go. And then I'm going to use the painter's tape to tape that down nice and securely so that when I get ready to paint, it doesn't bleed through, it doesn't move around. And then I'm going to take the sticker, which is actually my husband's initial, and I'm going to center that up right there in the center of the stencil, making sure I push that sticker down very well. And then I'm going to take my chalkboard paint, and it takes 3 coats, and I make sure I push the stencil down at the edges so it doesn't bleed through. And then I let that completely dry between the 3 coats. And then once that's done, I very gently take the X-Acto knife. I'm not pushing down on the wood really hard. I just want to be able to make sure that when I pull the sticker up, that the paint doesn't come off with it. And I do have to go back and touch up a little bit. It did bleed through just a little bit in certain spots, and I actually used nail polish remover to get that off. And then I go with my smaller paintbrush and just touch it up, make sure all the edges are nice and crisp, and I do the same thing once I remove the stencil. And then I'm going to take a Krylon clear coat clear glaze, and I'm going to spray that, and I only spray it on the front because I have polyurethane on there, but I wanted to protect that chalk paint so that, you know, it doesn't chip off. And here it is. Once I pop the tray in there, then I put some ice in there and put some of my husband's favorite beverages in there, and they were sitting there waiting for him when he got home from work. You'll have to let me know in the comments down below how well you think I did. If you like this project, give me a big thumbs up if you like this video. Kohl's cost was $84.99, my cost free. So I think I had a pretty good deal, did pretty well as far as my costs are concerned. Thanks for watching, take care, and I will see you next week.